Greetings and welcome to PinballHelp. Here we are again with this Gottlieb Waterworld pinball machine. This is a System 3 from the mid-90s. And I got this in and I've been refurbishing it. And we're now getting to the flippers. And on this game there was a lot of hacking and slashing that was done to the flippers. So I'm going to just pull this whole thing off and rebuild it. And I'm going to go over with you this process and also show you kind of what was done to it. So give me a second, let me find some clippers here. Never anything around when I need it. Okay. So let's take a look up here. This is the right flipper assembly right here, and it does function, but the cable brackets and everything are very loose. And look at this monstrosity with the wiring. Somebody's actually had spade terminals attached to a piece of telephone wire. It's been with weird, all kinds of weird stuff. It's amazing this thing even worked at all. This is the wrong kind of wire for all of this stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that and I'm going to rebuild all the wiring and everything with the proper wires. This bracket has got the wrong screws in there and they're odd angles. So the mounting bracket is actually stripped. I got new brackets from Pinball Resource here. They cost about $8 a piece. So it's worth spending that than trying to kind of rig this thing. They had wood screws that were going through this into the wood. Is pretty bad off. So what I'm going to do is I already labeled the main power wires coming in. There's two here and one here, and I've labeled this lug 1 and this lug 2 on the other side. And so I'm just going to go ahead and cut these wires so that I can remove this whole assembly. Now, this is going to be one of the nicer. It's going to be one of the nicer flipper rebuilds because it's going to be a bit easier to do because I can actually remove the whole assembly since I'm taking the bracket out and everything. So first thing I want to do is get a 5/32 hex key, and I'm going to undo these two things over here. I've already loosened them so that I can pull the flipper out, the flipper bat out. So now that's out, and then I'm just going to undo these screws here, and they're all different sizes too. So I'm going to undo all of this stuff. And hopefully won't have too much trouble putting them back in, but that's an odd size screw there. If the holes where the wood screws go into the thing end up being damaged, then I'm going to probably put some toothpicks in there and some Elmer's glue and fill it in a little bit before I put it in. So right now I'm just going to get these out as best I can, trying not to drop any of them inside the machine. And take these off. So how's your weekend doing? Good, that's great. All right. Different size things. Wrong size. Oh, that one works. Okay. So it's kind of 3 different size things here. And the last one. Now, what I don't want to do is have these screws go falling into the thing, because that would not be fun trying to. Oh, and something fell. Something fell on the other side. It was the flipper. Okay. I can find the flipper. Alright, so we've got the flipper assembly out. So let's take it over to the workbench. See what we got, shall we? Alright. Zoom back. Here's our workbench. This is there's our flipper rebuild kit. And here is the original flipper, so you can see it'll just oriented it properly like that. And we're going to rebuild this whole assembly here. Now some parts are left and right specific, but some parts aren't. The bushings are not, the coil sleeves and the coil stops and the plungers are not. The end of stroke switches and these flipper bushings are specific, so I will compare, see if I've got the right one. So, does that look right? Yes. So this is the one that we want to use for this. What about the end of stroke switch? That looks right versus this. So this is the one for that. So there's our parts for this. So I will take this apart, but I'm not going to unsolder everything until I'm sure that I've got everything all situated. So I will take that into account. So this is our whole setup here. And first thing we want to do is let's get this coil stop. In this rebuild kit, this part is not included, looks like. There's our coil stop. Slightly different design. They didn't use an original one. They must have used something from another game. So this part doesn't come in it. But so first things we got to do is we'll just start rebuilding this. I usually do not rebuild the end of stroke switches, but in this case I just wanted to get the whole kit and be done with it. So I'll look at it, make sure I got the right kind of screws. And of course those screws are not in this kit. How do you like that? So I'll have to take the screws off of this and use them on this. That's a little bit frustrating, but what can you do? Let's get a screwdriver. All right. Is this coming out okay? Okay, so we'll get these off. Now in this case I'm just going to be borrowing screws. I guess I'll use this little thing here. So we'll go from here to there. Yeah. I don't have a whole lot of length on that other side. Look at that. Do I have enough to bite into this? Let's see. I do, just barely. That has me worried a little bit. Am I going to get enough? No. So maybe this little piece here I don't need, that little black piece. Well, it seems like I would. Are these that much thinner? This is the problem with oh. I don't know. I don't know. Well, let's. Okay, I definitely got more now. Okay, that's definitely enough. So, I'm not going to use that. Although I think these switch stacks will squeeze together once they're tightened. This is a Phillips screwdriver, which is a pain in the butt. Okay, yeah, that's working. It's a very nice, crisp understroke. Put that down nice and tight. There we go. So there's our end of stroke. Okay. Now I'm going to solder the connections up after I get everything else put together. All right. Let's take the coil stop off. This is usually the area that's almost always damaged. Now, if you don't have a back plate, you can take this off, and you can see sometimes you got room. You could put nuts on the underside here if you wanted to. I just really wanted to do it right. There was wood screws in here. I tried to put the proper screws, which are in now, and they wouldn't go in straight. You could see that. I managed to get them in slightly crooked, so the threading is all screwed up in this, which obviously is not good. And since it's only $8 to get a whole new bracket, might as well do that. And I'll look at these bolts and make sure that they're not messed up. So there is our old coil stop, which to me looks almost like a Bally Williams coil stop. This is the proper coil stop, it's supposed to be that. So that'll go right here.